Good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Final Boss Podcast. I'm your host, Turbo the CEO. Our guest tonight, Mr. Corey Moore, and it is episode number 32. Tonight's topic is going to be navigating tech with African American entrepreneurs. But before we get into that, give you a little introduction about my boy Corey, and we go way back. And it's crazy. We both have been entrepreneurs for some time. We had rivaling record labels, but we weren't rivals. We actually worked together, but we had a common goal. He had his set of artists, I had my set of artists, and we collab a lot. So we collabed on music, we collabed on parties, and we collabed on a lot of different ventures. And tonight I'm bringing him here up and close and personal to the Final Boss Podcast. Thank you for everyone who's watching and tuning in. As a disclaimer, per always, this information is for entertainment purposes only. So right before we get into it, let me tell you a little bit about Corey. Corey is a multifaceted individual with over 20 years of experience in technology, music, production, and hospitality. As a seasoned engineering leader, he has developed and delivered cutting edge solutions for diverse clients, including the NSA, the FBI, USAID, Fortune 5 and Fortune 500 companies like Apple and AT&T. He's a prominent he's prominent in nonprofits like the National Center of Missing and Exploited Children. His contributions have significantly impacted U.S. military intelligence and civilian technology. Corey is also a culinary innovator. Question mark. We're gonna have to talk about that. We got to talk about that. Generating over 10 million in revenue. My man, that's what I'm talking about, bro. Kudos to you for that. And a seasoned music producer with a diverse portfolio. A sought after speaker and consultant, he shares insights on technology, leadership, creativity, and more. As a former MI soldier and disabled combat veteran, shout out to all the combat veterans out there. Corey brings resilience and a unique perspective to his endeavors. And tonight, he's going to be the subject matter expert on tonight's topic. And Corey, the
Thank
floor
you.
is yours, my brother.
As introduction was great, man.
Well, I appreciate you, man. Thank
I
you.
appreciate it. I appreciate that. So I'm trying to make sure that because I wanted to pull this up on my phone as well, so
Mhm.
I can share it. But I appreciate it. Yeah, and it has been a journey for sure.
For
Uh,
sure.
I remember when we first met. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and I always admired, uh, and I never told you this, but you were that back when when we first started in the music stuff, or when I really started going hard. There were a lot of little labels and production companies, but people weren't really branding themselves like that, right? I
Right.
mean, you had some people who had some labels that were uh, more street, and that's how people knew them. But branding, logos, marketing, merch, you were the first one that I saw doing that on that
Yeah.
level,
Thanks, man. I appreciate
for
that, bro.
real.
Yeah.
And it spoke volumes to the point where you know your logo just it nobody knew was if your artists were already selling hundreds of thousands of records, or if they weren't,
Right.
Based on the way you presented your brand. So I took something from that.
Hey man, thanks, bro. I appreciate that, man. Reach one, teach one.
I
Iron
can't
sharpens
lie.
iron. You feel me?
Yeah, I can't lie.
Yeah.
I can't lie, man. But yeah, it's a pleasure, and I'm glad to be here. Appreciate the opportunity, and let's talk about it. It's a
Let's
lot
talk
to talk
about it. All right, we're gonna get into it. So, ladies and gentlemen, tonight's topic: navigating the tech landscape, stories of African American entrepreneurs. That's what we're gonna be talking about.
Yeah.
And based off of the importance of African Americans in technology, statistics, according to the Census Bureau, only 2.6% of all tech entrepreneurs are of color or Black, highlighting the need for more voices in this space. And this is sourced out from the Census Bureau from 2021. And that's a recent stat, man.
It is.
So if you look at it from a space where we just came out of COVID not too long ago, or just around that time, how many numbers has that percentage increased? That's something that we're going to have to dive into and briefly discuss.
Yeah, I have thoughts on that.
Yeah,
a lot.
Okay.
Echo.
We're gonna talk about it. So I can hear you. You good?
I'm great. Yeah.
Okay. So before, and I haven't really given you a chance to talk about your background. I kind of like gave you an introduction, but if you want to go ahead and tell the people a little bit more about you in the tech space, and then we go into the segment.
Sure. Yeah. So I don't like, I'm sure people see all these people now, especially now, getting on podcasts, getting on YouTube, and talking about themselves in a way where it almost sounds like it's a job interview.
Okay.
I don't want to do that.
Okay. All right.
I think it's whack.
Okay.
And the reason why I think it's whack is because most of us, if not all of us, we were led and inspired down different paths based on the way life was lifing.
Oh, bro. Whoo. That, right? You know what? Hold on, man. I gotta take a note on that. That's a show. That's a show. That's definitely an episode.
That we're gonna get to it today.
Listen.
We're gonna get to it today. So, I would be a liar if I said where I ended up today was all my plan. It wasn't.
Right.
I was just a kid in Virginia Beach doing what I was doing, playing basketball, dibbling and dabbling in the streets, and music was my life, was my thing. Right. I never forget the first time I got the bug to make music was, so my grandmother was played the organ in church.
Okay.
So when I was a kid, she used to always try to let me, help me learn how to play the piano, teach me how to play the piano. And a lot of stuff came from my grandma, and a lot of people in our culture can relate to that.
Absolutely.
My grandma used to let me take her appliances in her house apart and put them back together. I was a little kid, but she also let me pull all the pots out in the kitchen and play the drums on them. right? So
Yeah,
a
get
lot
love
of
from grandmas. Yeah.
when I look back, a lot of what started my trajectory was it started with my grandmother.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. And so anyway, I was making music. I started out playing the saxophone.
Okay.
Corny as that sounds, and I
Bro,
learned
it's
how to
not,
do.
it's talent, bro. It's not corny.
I
Go
mean,
ahead.
I didn't think I had any talent.
Mm-hmm.
My mom knew I liked music, and she was like, "Well, if you want to make music, you need to learn how to make music." So this was I want to say I was in the 6th grade, 7th grade, something like
Right.
that.
Okay.
And I grew up originally in New York City, and then I moved. My family moved to Virginia Beach, and I went to school there. Um, and I started in a band playing the saxophone, and then I eventually came over to the drums. And I remember I was like, man, always listened to hip hop.
Mm-hmm.
And coming from New York, mixtapes were everywhere. I used to listen to DJ Red Alert every Friday night. I believe it was Friday night on the radio when I was young. So I had a love for hip hop from the beginning.
Right.
And I remember one day I was going through. I had this little radio. A lot of us had these the dual cassette radio.
Right. The little boom boxes.
Yeah, and one side you could record on, and the other
Mm-hmm.
side you can only play on. Right. So
Yeah.
I said, I want to figure out how to make a beat so me and my boy could rap on it.
Okay.
And so I started going through my mom's records. She had all these old records, and I figured out how to plug her record player up
Mm-hmm.
into the back of the inputs on the boom box and record it.
Right.
So I found this record from a group named Mtume.
Mm-hmm.
And I was listening to it, and I was like, oh, that's hard. Like I loved it. I didn't say hard then because I was, I was like, I like that, whatever I said. So I looped it.
Right.
And then I ran to my boy's house. I was like, listen to this. Right. So he listened to it. He was like, oh, that's dope. So we started writing, wrote some stupid rap. I don't know what it was. I don't remember.
Mm-hmm.
But we thought it was a hit.
Right.
Started telling everybody in the neighborhood, telling my mom, telling family and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Letting them hear it. They all knew about Mtume. So they was like, why y'all using that? Right. So maybe a month, 2 months later, bro, Juicy comes out. Biggie.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh no, that's our song. Same sample, right?
Right.
So I'm like, no. So from that moment, I said, I need to learn how to really make music, really make beats. So I talked to my band director, and he hooked me up, and I was interning with different people in Virginia Beach that had studios. One of them was from Teddy Riley had a studio out there. A lot of people, a lot of young talent from Virginia Beach would go through there and kind of work on music and learn their way around. And from there, it was my love. Okay. It was what inspired me.
Gotcha.
And a lot of people don't know, about Virginia Beach, but Virginia Beach is not what it looks like. Virginia Beach is rough city.
Yeah, I used to frequent the city. Yeah, I'm familiar. But yeah, go ahead.
The Hampton Roads in general, but Virginia Beach is a place where you see a lot of people go to jail. When you grow up, you're gonna have a lot of your friends going. Or so I knew I didn't want that to be me, and I had to figure out how to get up out of there. Um, and I actually, I was okay in school, but I wasn't really that interested in school,
Got it.
other than sports, girls, and music. So I can't say that I had the best grades. I didn't,
Okay.
But when it was time to get ready to go to college, I studied for SATs, had a really good score on my SATs. I could have went to college, but my family didn't have money like that. And I didn't have full rides and like that. So here comes the recruiter.
This story sounds familiar. Go ahead.
Here comes the recruiter.
Right.
I'm like, Virginia Beach is a Navy town. So I said, I'm not going to the Navy.
Okay.
We used to fight the Navy dudes at the base playing basketball. So I'm like, I'm not going to the Navy. So I decided to go into the Army. Never forget, his name was Staff Sergeant Boom. And
cool.
He was my recruiter.
Okay.
And I asked him, I said, look, I want a job in the military that is going to help me fund my music. I want to be able to go in and then get out and make enough money to fund my music.
Okay.
What I wanted to do. So I took the ASVAB, scored pretty good on the ASVAB, scored good enough to get into intelligence. And he said, I got you a good job. It's military intelligence. And if you do well in this, when you get out, you're going to be good.
Bro, that's crazy. My first unit was an MI unit on Fort Meade.
Okay.
Right from basic to AIT MI, bro.
Yeah.
Not crazy. Yeah.
So
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that. Yeah. So I didn't know what a security clearance was. I didn't know any of that, bro. Right. All I knew was I got a good job. So I go to basic training. I'm like, this is easy because I'm used to getting yelled at. My mother was yelling at me all the time. So it wasn't. So the hardest part for me was just getting up early every day. So I did okay. I did pretty good in basic, and went to AIT. My AIT was in Pensacola, Florida, and that's when I started to see. Hold up, this isn't what a typical thing is.
Right.
What is this?
Yeah.
Right. And I went to the National Cryptologic School. I thought that it was fun. It was hard, but I didn't take it like, if I don't pass this, blah, 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 I just did it. And I looked up and I'm like, I'm scoring better than everybody in my class.
Right. It was your approach.
I didn't know that I had this mind for this type of work.
Right.
I didn't know. I was 17 years old. This goes back to what I said about how you don't have you can have all the plans you want, but like people end up where they go where they choose, but it's also where you inspire, what you're inspired and how life leads you. So, I ended up doing very well there, excelling, going to certain duty stations that some I can talk about, some I can't, due to the classified nature of them. But fundamentally, that's where I really got my feet wet.
Okay.
In tech.
Gotcha.
My first duty station was overseas. And I left one thing out though. that is very important to this story.
Okay. We're here for it.
And if people from my hometown see this, they can vouch for it.
Okay.
So when I graduated, I threw a party. My first party.
Right.
Graduation party. And I lived in a neighborhood, townhouses, it wasn't a lot of money there. It was, regular families, right?
Okay.
It wasn't hood, but it wasn't nice, super nice either, right? But it was a good neighborhood to grow up in.
Okay.
We had our incidences and stuff like that. It was wild stuff that went on around there, but it wasn't anything like somebody grown like when I lived in New York or growing up in the inner city in DC or Baltimore. It was a decent neighborhood. I threw a party with my graduation, invited a few friends.
Okay.
And then I thought what I thought I was doing. I went around different rec centers in Virginia Beach, gave people the little flyer I wrote up. Man, it was 500 people that came to my party.
Oh boy.
Shut the whole block down. It was crazy. People were talking about it for years. And I mean, all kinds of stuff happened there, good and bad, right? That's where I got the party bug from.
Yeah, that'll do it.
So when I went overseas, at first, you get to a new military base, you don't know people. You just going to work, doing whatever, right? And I ended up making a friend, a guy that was from Texas, and his name was Corey too. And that ended up being my road dog. And we went everywhere in England. And I never forget, man, because where I was at, it was like up north. And we just I bought a car, a random car, and then we just got in the car and just started driving one day. And we was like, man, we're going to go out somewhere else because we don't want to go out in the local town. It's whack. And we ended up in a town called Leeds in the United Kingdom.
Okay.
And we started seeing all these lights. Like, yo, it's lights right there. It looked like a city. Going to the city, driving around, and we don't see nothing but sisters walking around everywhere, bro. Like, yo, you see that? And he was like, yes, I see that, bro. And I was like, it's over, bro. So after that, we went buck wild, bro. And that was the best time of my life, dog. Like, I never forget that moment when we discovered that there was black people in England.
Yeah.
Which obviously everybody always knew that, but we didn't. We were 18 years old.
Right.
And from there, started partying all the time, having fun, but working at the same time.
At the same time, of course, military.
And learning and getting my feet wet in my job and in the technical field. And then I started going to school. I went to the University of Maryland, European Division.
Okay.
And through going out, partying, start meeting people. Meeting people. Hey man, what's up, man? British people that lived there, grew up there. Some people from Nigeria, different places in the world that came there for school.
Okay.
And meeting people and like, yo, because we hit the thing a lot. I want to tell a lot of young kids. Even though I was in the military, when I went to England, I ended up being friends with everybody that was my age, but that's college. Right. So we're in the same age group, living the same fun life. After they get off school, they going out partying. I get off work, I'm going out partying. So it's like I was in college.
Got it.
I wasn't.
Right.
I had a job. You know what I'm saying? I had money. But and I was going to school for free on
Okay.
Uncle Sam's dime.
Right.
So I always promote that to people. But so I started meeting people, and I'm like, yeah, I make music. Yeah, I'm trying to rap. So now here I am. I'm in the studio with people in England, and I'm making grime music before it really got big.
Right.
I'm making garage music with them before it really got big. Hip hop. I'm doing songs with these people where I'm making beats and I'm rapping on songs with other people from other countries at 18, 19 years old. And people started saying, yo, you got some talent. And we start doing shows out there. Then I started getting cool. I started meeting a lot of people. My friends started meeting a lot of people. So then in comes throwing parties.
Okay.
So I'm working with different promoters
Mm-hmm.
in the UK, where you throwing parties in Tenerife, Ibiza, stuff like that. So now I'm experiencing a promoter life, but from a European perspective
And military
perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm throwing parties and I'm inviting people from the base and other bases to the party, and also inviting people from that live there on the economy to parties. So people on the base, they like, some people like, yo, that's my man, and some people like, I don't like this guy.
Right, of course.
Right. So me and my homeboy CJ, we had a lot of haters back then.
Yeah, you're gonna have those haters. Yeah.
But I didn't realize all of this was kind of shaping me into becoming who I eventually became.
Okay.
Which is a person that really had 3 careers at one time. I had a career in music, I had a career in events and hospitality, and I had a tech career.
Got it.
All growing
simultaneously. Right.
But I didn't know that. What I knew was, here's my job, and here's what I love to do, which is music, and here's the parties that kind of come along with what you have to do if you want to make it in music. That's how I was doing it.
Right.
Not really realizing that I was actually becoming a professional in all 3 of those areas. Which the whole crux of it is, none of us knew then that all of these areas eventually will be run by tech.
Right. Absolutely.
And that's where we are now.
That's where we are now. So I'm glad you mentioned that, man. So and I appreciate that story, man. It's a great story. And those discoveries are essential for the rest of the conversation. So you were motivated, but to get in the military, you're motivated with the parties from the first party. What was the core motivation for going into IT?
This is a real story.
Yes, that's what we want. Yeah.
And I went into IT because I lost my security clearance.
Okay.
I went into IT out of struggle. My career in IT was born through struggle, because, as I said, I was in Intel. And I could have gone very, very far.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
I had a knack for it. And those who know what Intel is know what it is. Those who don't, they just don't.
Yeah.
But
breadcrumbs, people. Breadcrumbs.
But the point is, in order to be with the job that I had in Intel, you have to have a technical background and technical skills. but I wasn't IT. I worked with technology. But what happened to me was when I decided to get out of the Army, and I could teach a whole masterclass on this. And one day I want to, I got out at a time where my clearance needed to be redone. Because when you have a security clearance, some people who don't know this, but when you have a security clearance, it only lasts for a certain amount of time before you have to be reinvestigated and they get recertified for a better term.
Yep.
And if you're in the same job where you're sponsored for your security clearance, in theory, they should continue to sponsor you and put you in for the re-up. So the federal government does it. Back then it was OPM that does it.
That's a loophole. I know where you listen. It's a loophole.
What happened to me was I had some people that were pissed off at me for wanting to get out of the Army. Because I was very good at my job, like I said, and I was in a unit that was, I put it to you like this: I wore civilian clothes.
Yeah, say no more.
Okay, so I was in a certain place in the Army that people don't get out of the Army. There's really no reason to get out.
Yeah.
But it was a reason for me, and the reason was I had a son on the way, and I didn't want to deploy anymore.
Right.
So I had all these contractors, defense contractors, coming at me, offering me triple the money that I was making in the military. So I said, I'm getting out. Little did I know that I told them that before I made sure that my clearance
was
secured.
Yeah.
So I get out and transition right overnight into a defense contractor. And I'm working for 6 months. And one day I get a call that says, I need you to come downstairs. And I get escorted out of the building. Why? Because your clearance is expired. And it's been expired for a year.
Yeah. We got to talk offline, bro. I know there's more to the story, but yeah.
So when you lose your clearance or you don't have a clearance, I didn't lose my clearance. I didn't get it renewed. But when your clearance is expired,
it's a whole process to get it back.
It's a whole process to get it back, and it costs a lot of money. And
right now on the table, I think secret is about $45,000 now.
Yeah. And I had higher than that. So, in order to get it back, somebody has to pay for it.
Right.
And you can find some people to do it, but it's not easy. And coming straight out of the military, even though I was good at my job, from an engineer standpoint, I was still junior, somewhat mid-level to junior as an engineer.
Okay.
So I wasn't a subject matter expert at that time. So it wasn't like they were like, listen, we got to get this guy. So it took me a while to find a company that would do it. I did find a company that would do it. And they tried.
Okay.
But as I said to you, and we're gonna have these conversations, they're gonna be real conversations.
Absolutely.
Honest, this is about what it takes to make it out here. And I'm not being fake on my story.
We on here, man, as the final boss, bro, this is all transparency.
Yeah,
bro.
This is how I became a boss. So as I said, I was on the way to having my son. when I was transitioning out. And like other people, just like me, it was a bit tumultuous and it was stressful. Just the relationship, having a child, trying to get along with the other parent. It was just a lot for me and a lot going on.
Right.
In the midst of not having a job and not all that stuff. So when I finally got the opportunity to do my polygraph, I failed it twice.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people don't know, but I'll say it for the sake of education on this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Polygraph is not really a lie detector test. It is a physiological exam.
Right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
They measure your body's physiological response based on questions. And they take that criteria to decide how truthful you are about certain situations.
Yeah.
If you are in a place where you are on medication or you stressed out or any kind of thing like that, is a very, very high chance that your body is going to produce physiological responses that are not, they don't meet the criteria that they're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Some may say it's a technicality. They'll give you another chance, but they won't keep giving you chances.
Right.
So that happened to me, and I didn't get through the lifestyle polygraph, and which is a very rigorous polygraph.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wasn't able to get back into my field that I was in, and I was stuck. So what did I have to do? Pick up a book and get a cert in something.
Right. What was your first cert?
Linux Plus.
Linux Plus. Okay.
That was my first cert.
Okay.
I had already worked with a lot of Unix-based systems, Sun systems. So I knew my way around Unix.
Okay.
I didn't know Linux that well. I did do my last couple of years. I did work with a lot of Red Hat, so I did know Linux, but my experience with Linux was real limited to more like working in Bash and working on C# files, configuration files, BIOS level things that were designed to programmatically launch applications.
Gotcha.
I didn't know my way around the OS that well.
Okay.
So I had to get a cert for that.
Okay.
But when I did, I started putting out my resume and I got opportunities. And from there, I was off to the races, back in the studio, and started going. And so
one thing is funding the other.
Yep. And so that's how I got into IT.
Okay.
A little long-winded, but we got time. So
we got time. So
telling the story to completion.
Question for you. So along your path and your journey, did you have any mentors that you were influenced by?
No.
Okay.
Well, that's not true. I didn't have any mentors. I didn't have mentorship. I had a lot of people I learned from though. It took me years to learn that I didn't exactly invite mentorship when I was young, which is a lesson for young people to learn. Mentorship is a huge thing, but you have to know how to present yourself in a way for somebody to be willing to mentor you.
Absolutely.
And I didn't know how to do that.
Okay.
I think part of it was because I was always smart and I always had wisdom with certain things, and I kind of spoke and presented myself like I knew things that I didn't really know.
Gotcha.
Um, and that was just a mechanism of being street smart. To be honest with you, it kind of bled over into that.
True.
Where even if you don't know something, you don't act like you don't know. You just so you can learn it. And I didn't know how to say, "Can you help me?"
Okay.
I didn't know how to say, "Man, I want to be like you." I didn't do that. So, but I did have a ton of people that I learned a lot from. Some by them telling me about myself, some by getting in trouble at work or whatever it was. And some things were just from watching and admiring other people
Other people.
and the things that they did, and their work ethic. And I have had some supervisors and people who I don't like to when I use the term boss, I don't like it to be a term where I'm talking about another person other than myself, because I don't believe anybody's my boss. I'm my own boss, and the only other boss I have is God.
Okay.
But I do have supervisors and leadership that I really respected, and some were really, really intelligent, even to this day. You know, this like my last job when I was at NCMEC, National Center of Missing and Exploited Children. My supervisor, my lead there, he was a director. I was the lead, but he taught me so much, even through struggle and not agreeing. I still learned so much from him, and I learned from everybody that I work for and with.
That's a good trait to have, man. Absolutely.
Every single person. So no, I never had any true mentors though.
Okay. So that is, thanks for that information. That leads into and that opens the door for and gives me the opportunity to use that as a segue into, did you have any barriers along the way of for your IT training and IT education?
Barriers? Nah. I would say the only barrier would be time.
Time.
And it's because I've always been juggling 3 careers.
Right.
At the exact same time. I've never been completely and 100% focused on my IT career.
Gotcha.
At all.
Okay.
And that was a choice I made. And that was a choice I made based off of what I loved and what I was interested in and what I eventually realized I was very good at.
Right.
But that's the only barrier. But you know, one thing people will find is not just me, but anybody in this field, you can get caught up in work and not do continued education. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And you look up, 10 years goes by.
Yeah.
It can happen.
It does happen. I've seen it too many times.
Yeah.
Cert expired and people like, oh, and then you've the time to do the CEs have expired and now you're starting all over from scratch. So yeah, I'm seeing that.
But nowadays, when you have things like LinkedIn Learning, YouTube, places where you can learn while you're working. You don't have to completely stop what you're doing and go to somebody's class or go through a book, or you can look at what you're doing at work and directly related to what you're learning about in your continued education, it is a little easier
Gotcha.
to do. Not to say that these dang certs that you have to take are in any way, shape, or form designed to replicate the work environment, because they're not. But
yeah, we know that.
But if you're with a good company that will invest in you, there are avenues to do it if that's what you choose to do.
All right.
I have a very different outlook about certs than most people in our field.
Okay.
I have so many certs I have so many certs right now that are not even relevant anymore.
Yeah. I was going through some of my old IT documents, man. I got a packet of certs, and I kid you not, bro, that are this thick. I started out in IT from a telecommunications. I started out telecom, and I eventually moved all the way up. Man, I've done everything to the point where I was a branch chief. But that's for another show. Question for you.
Yeah.
We're getting ready to get to the meeting table. Meat and potatoes. You ready? The topic tonight: navigating the tech landscape for African Americans entrepreneurs. Do you see or have you witnessed systemic challenges that are tied to being an African American entrepreneur? What are your thoughts on that?
No.
Okay. No. Good.
I don't care.
Okay.
And I don't think anybody else should either.
Okay.
If you're trying to walk to the store because you don't have any food in your house and it's cold as balls outside, are you gonna be mad that it's cold, or are you just gonna put on a coat and go get your food?
Right.
I would be a liar if I said I felt that I wasn't able to achieve anything because of some systemic racism or anything like that.
Gotcha.
Now, do I believe that those institutions are embedded in the fabric of our country? Yes. Do I believe that certain people are impartial to other people and it's harder for people of color? Yeah. And what I have to say is, so what? Yeah, it's harder. So what? What you gonna do? Cry about it, or
Right.
or do it?
Or do it. Absolutely do it. Let there be a crush to do it and do more.
Yeah, I think that in tech in the tech world, there are things that folks may try to do that, based on the way they look, it may not be as believable from them. But I've seen that happen to Caucasian people as well.
Okay.
I've seen Asian people be believed more than Caucasian people because of somebody's some person might have a stereotypical mindset that Asian people are better software developers.
Right. Oh, there's definitely some stigmas in the field.
Yeah. So I don't think that, I'm not saying that they don't exist. I'm saying they exist everywhere.
They do. They do.
And I'm saying that it cannot be an excuse. It has to be more so something that you understand is a variable.
Mm-hmm.
And what are you going to do about it? I remember one time when I grew my beard, I went for a job interview and I said I need to cut my beard.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, at the time, my girlfriend was like, "Why?" And I said, "Because I don't want these people to look at me like I'm a Muslim.
Mm.
I want them to think I'm Muslim
That's deep.
because they will."
Yeah. Some places. Mm-hmm.
Who I was interviewing with at that particular time, I felt that they would look at me that way because of what that job was and what it was for.
Interesting.
And she said, "Well, if you do that, what else are you going to change about yourself?"
Smart woman. But I say that because she looked at it from a different perspective.
She did.
Yeah.
But, and you know, so you know, this was a while ago, a long time ago. And I said, "Damn, you're right." And I didn't do it. And when I got in there, I saw them looking at my beard while I was talking. And I could have, I had to make a choice right in that moment. Do I allow this to affect my confidence?
No, that's me. That's me. Yeah.
Do I allow this right here in this moment to affect my confidence? Or do I exude more confidence now that I know that they're looking at my beard? Meaning they're questioning something.
Right.
So what I did was I made myself feel more human to them. I started asking them questions.
Okay.
Talking to them. You know, cracking jokes. And it went away. And that's because at its core, most people just don't know who you are.
True.
And they don't know who you are. They know what they would like you to be. But they don't know if who you are is what they would like you to be.
Right. They have this picture painted of you and they don't even know you and until you open your mouth and they see and they have an understanding of your personality. Yeah, it's crazy.
It's really why I started the Black Tech Events Company.
Okay. Yeah, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'm glad you said that because I was already my next question was going to be discuss the future of technology for African Americans, and now you're speaking on Black tech. So yeah, let's talk about that.
So first of all, okay, and this goes back to the very first thing that you talked about, which is that Census Bureau piece.
Yeah.
2.6% of the tech industry are Black. Or tech entrepreneurs are Black. Let's make that distinction. Just for the listeners, you're not talking about people that are in tech. You're talking about tech entrepreneurs.
Right.
Very different.
Very different.
I'm going to say the problem with that number is the word Black. What we have to remember is in America, Black has a definition that is not the same in other countries. In America, Black is people of African descent that are American citizens. It is not the Nigerian software developer that's 16 years old that just designed something crazy in AI.
Yeah, that guy's wow. He's doing some
He's not going to be considered a Black entrepreneur in America. So we can't look at these ratings and think that they're accurate to the full demographics of what's represented in tech, because tech is international. Literally international. And I can tell you now, in the continent, not the country, because some people seem to think Africa is a country. In the continent of Africa, there are some genius people in tech. Genius. And because of the internet, it doesn't matter if they're in Africa. If they make a product that people like, people in America will use it.
Absolutely.
Just like TikTok.
The world is smaller, so and it's getting
yeah. Now, with that said, I named my company Black Tech Events because I understand that that's what most people of African descent in this country identify with.
Okay.
But I also understand what that word means. And for me, it is inclusion. I don't believe that using the word Black tech is divisive. It is inclusion because Black is not just African American. It's not. We don't have to have those same definitions. But with that said, I did that because and you have some really good companies now doing conferences and focus on, people of color, Black tech people. Like Afrotech is one of them, huge company. They're doing very well. But none of those companies or movements or brands are really focused on the DC market.
Okay.
They're trying to go, they're national. They're trying to grab people in, Black people in tech from all over the country to invite them to their events, whether it's in Houston or Atlanta or wherever. And more power to them, but I'm a government baby. I got my bones from Uncle Sam.
Right. Same here.
So I have to focus on DC.
Yeah.
That's the nation's capital. To me, I'm not going to stop until I'm at the forefront of DC being the new Black Silicon Valley. Because I believe it can be. There are a lot of innovative people in the DC market, and keep in mind, I'm not saying the DMV. I think saying the DMV kind of goes without saying, right? We're saying DC because we're talking about the nucleus,
right?
So if you live in Northern Virginia and you live in PG County, it's still DC in respect to this.
People who are from here, when we mention DC, a lot of those areas are already included. And this is my opinion. I believe
it depends on the industry.
Yeah, it depends on the industry, but I think that the conversation about the DMV is also mostly for outsiders. But yeah,
but it does depend on the industry. Like if we're talking about music, we have to say DMV because rappers from DC are very different from rappers from Alexandria.
Right.
But what we're talking about is tech, and we're talking about the focal point of the tech in that region being in Washington, D.C., where the federal government is. And we are working on Black Tech Baltimore as well.
Okay.
But not Maryland, Baltimore. But the goal there is to bring people together, bring people into one room. And it happens all the time. People do tech events all the time.
Right.
But it's not the same group of people doing it all the time, which is what we're going to be doing. And we've already started doing. We had 2 events last year, and they were both very successful. And when I saw the success of it and the potential, I paused and I said, okay, this is going to be huge. So I need to really plan this out and make sure that when we come back, we're going to come back by storm and make sure we really do it right, because the objective overall is to influence the youth. You know, you don't have to be a rapper. I just saw something come out on Instagram a couple of days ago that said anesthesiologists make more than NFL players.
Yeah.
Over time.
Yeah.
Right. So, you know, we have to learn how, as people who have lived and leaders, we have to learn how to package success to the youth.
Branding.
Yeah, we have to be able to show them, you know, this is a lifestyle that you can have. You actually can do this. All you have to do is do this, and this. And then be willing to help them when they do it.
Yeah. Provide mentorship. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, you know, and I want to have a platform for the people who were like me, that when I was young had all the potential in the world, but didn't know how to court a mentor. I didn't know how to do that.
Right.
But I didn't have anybody saying, this young guy actually has some talent. You know, let me help him. When we build platforms and we build things, the platform helps them. It's not necessarily you taking time out of your day away from your family to help this kid. No, you put them into the system. The system helps them.
Right.
But if the groundwork to build that system isn't done, you can't do that. So that's what this is all about.
Okay.
But it's also going to be fun.
Okay. It has to be.
It's also going to be fun, man.
So, do you have any more information on your company, links, email? You want anything, anybody to so you can expand on your Black Tech idea?
Yeah, for sure. You can reach out to me personally on Instagram. Brunch Party King is my Instagram page. And next time I come on, we're gonna talk about the brunches.
Hey, we have to, bro. Hey, man,
that's a whole different story.
I promised my aunt to take her for a couple of weeks now. We're supposed to be doing brunch, but you know,
yeah,
life and time. So yeah. Like we got to talk about that.
But the Black Tech company is called Black Tech Events DC on Instagram, at Black Tech Events DC. And the website is blacktechEventsDC.com. And as I said, we are in a rebuilding phase to relaunch the company. So just stay tuned. So what you see, if you go on it now, it may look like dated information, but very soon, early 2025, you're going to start seeing a lot from us.
Okay. You got sponsors and vendors coming on board, or they haven't been locked in yet?
I'll say this. I have one major sponsor.
Okay. You got a major player.
Okay. I'm trying. You
don't have to name it.
No, I can't name it anyway.
Okay.
But I'm trying to be very strategic about the partnerships
Mm-hmm.
that we take. And the reason for that is because I want to keep it organic and as organic as possible. I need the people who get involved with us and work with us and grow with us to understand that this is still us.
Right.
We're not being controlled by a corporate giant
Mhm.
that's trying to direct us in a way that is not best fit for us.
Yeah.
So I want to be very strategic about those type of partnerships that we take on.
That's good. That's good. It's too many times we've seen in different activist space, political space, where a movement starts out one way, it gets money or lots of money, and it end up being something different.
Don't get me started about that. I
No,
had
right?
bruh.
Bruh, I already know. Listen,
Yeah,
that's not for tonight.
That's not for tonight, but I'm
Not for
telling
tonight.
you,
Yeah,
we know
yeah.
it can happen.
It does. Yeah, man.
And you know, the other thing too is with that is when you're dealing with corporate budgets,
Mm-hmm.
which is when you take on sponsorship or anything like that, it's a corporate budget being given to you.
Absolutely.
All right. When you deal with corporate budgets, those budgets have to align with something.
Yeah.
Or they're not going to give it to you.
No. Now you're an employee.
If it's the wrong partnership,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. Most of the time it is. Depending on the numbers. It's a numbers game.
Yeah. So you got to be very careful about how you go about that.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I can eyeball it now though. When I see these companies come up, I can kind of look at what they're doing and I can see the trajectory that they have based off of their partnerships.
Okay.
So that's why I'm not really concerned about who's doing it now and all that stuff. I don't care.
Yeah.
What I care about is when we do our yearly conference in Puerto Rico, who's pulling up? That's what I care about.
Okay.
What I care about is 3 years from now, have we influenced some kids to say, I think I want to be an engineer.
Nice.
I make music. I'm a producer. I'm making beats on Fruity Loops all day. I know my way around Windows or Apple OS like the back of my hand. And then they come talk to me and I say, yeah, I know my way around that too. I know that program as well. But I can tell you this, if you know that, you can also do this AWS certification. This is going to get you $85,000 a year. You might as well do both. You're going to still be learning regardless, man.
Yeah. Don't stop there. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and when they see that, they're going to say, what? Because these kids are smart, bro.
Yeah. They're super smart. Yeah.
They are smart.
Yeah.
They learn things. They master things.
Yeah. They get bored with stuff too.
And they get bored, but that's all right.
Yeah.
Because going in the tech field is the best field to be a person that gets bored.
Absolutely.
There's always something new.
Always something to learn. And technology, man, technology is changing so fast, bro. I mean, I know in the beginning when we were in tech was changing every 2 years. And then tech is changing now, man, every 3 months. Every 3 months.
So I wanna have events where we have the right people in the building, the right images of what it looks like to live this life, the right information to give people, and you know, see where that takes us all.
Right.
You never know where
True.
it will take us, but what we do know is if we stay divided, it's never going to happen.
Right.
Yeah.
You were right there.
So, but that's mainly it, and you know, obviously, with everything there's a little bit deeper detail, but that's not important.
Well, we can bring that up on the next time you come on.
You know, some of that stuff is just for the people behind the scenes to know.
Yeah,
you got to make it look easy.
Right.
You gotta make it look easy, man.
Well, man, thank you for the information. Thank you for the stories. I hope someone listening gathered some insight. They were able to take some notes and share the information. And like I always say, like, share, subscribe. And we're on Instagram, we're on YouTube, we're on Facebook, we're on StreamYard. I got episodes that are loading up on TikTok. So like, share, subscribe. Hope you enjoyed the show. You have any closing thoughts, man? Closing information that you want to bring up?
One last thing I wanted to tell people that I think is very important for people in this field, people who are trying to be entrepreneurs. This might go over a lot of people's heads, but some may get it. Success is subjective. You don't have to be successful to not fail.
It's deep.
Really.
Yeah. That's deep.
So I'll leave you with that, and I'll be here, man. Let me know if you ever want me to come back on. It's been a pleasure.
Oh, bro, of course, you'll be back. Hey, let's give Corey a hand, man. Thanks for coming on. It's been a great show. It's for entertainment purposes only, as we like to say. And listen, that's our show for tonight. I'll see you guys on Sunday, God willing, at 9 p.m. Eastern time. And looking forward to the next episode number 33. We got a couple things to get out there. We will have some additional shows next week. I have a special guest coming on board next week. I want everybody to tune in for. Look out for the marketing push for that. But again, thank you, Corey. Thanks again, bro. Appreciate you. Don't go nowhere. I'm gonna close out. We got to catch up, man, because our stories, bro, are like this.
Yeah, crazy,
man, crazy. But everyone else, y'all have a great night. Enjoy the rest of your week. Be safe out there.
Yes.